Masechet Nedarim Daf Chet. We left off with one statement by Rav Gidel Amar Rav about undoing excommunication. We're going to see now three more statements by the same sages, also about excommunication and oaths, making them and undoing them. We'll see a few more halachot on the same subject, and we're going to complete the discussion of the first Mishnah with some interesting agadah about the end of days. So we begin. Ve'amar Rav Gidel Amar Rav, minayin shenishba'in lekayem et hamitzvah, shene'emar nishba'ti va'ekayema lishmor mishpete sidkecha. Says, how do you know that you can make an oath in order to fulfill a mitzvah? Generally, you can't make there's a rule we're going to see in a second. En shevuah chala al shevuah. If I already have one oath, I cannot make another oath on the exact same thing. The second one will not apply. And if I make a vow that I'm going to put on tefillin tomorrow, well, I'm already commanded to put on tefillin tomorrow. So that oath should not actually apply according to that rule. But Rav Gidel Amar Rav has a chidush and says, how do you know that if I make such a vow, that it does in fact do something? Shene'emar, so because in Tehillim says, I have sworn and confirmed to observe your commandments. So this pasuk is saying that yes, you can swear to fulfill the commandments, even though we already agreed and already swore that we would fulfill the commandments. Okay. So we asked the question, hold on, we already swore from the time of Har Sinai, Na'aseh v'nishma, that we'll fulfill all the commandments. So how will it help anyone if someone vows that he'll fulfill all the commandments or one commandment? Rather, what Rav Gidel Amar Rav is actually teaching is not that this vow will be a valid vow and that he'll be obligated to bring an extra sacrifice, punishment if he doesn't follow through, but rather that one is permitted to make such a vow in order to motivate himself. Okay, so the point is, it's not actually going to be a valid binding vow, but it's permitted to say such a thing. Even if you're saying God's name, we don't consider that taking God's name in vain, because you want to just be an extra zealous and really make sure that you do it in case you're wavering. So you make that vow. I'm going to do this mitzvah. I have to do it anyway, but I make a vow formula, and that'll encourage me not to forget. Okay, that's the first. Second one for today. Ve'amar Rav Gidel Amar Rav, ha'omed ashkim ve'eshne perek zeh, eshne masechta zo, neder gadol nadad lelohei Yisrael. Someone says, I am going to wake up in the morning, and I am going to study this perek, meaning of Tanakh. Or eshne, I will learn this masechet of Mishnah. Rav is a first generation Amora, so obviously the Gemara itself did not exist yet. They could not possibly do Daf Yomi in his generation, but rather the Mishnah. I'm going to study this Masechet. This is a big neder. Now, neder is actually used here loosely. It's actually a shevuah. A neder means that an object is prohibited to me. So you can only say a neder to prohibit some object. Here, he's taking upon himself an obligation to do something, to go and study. So it's actually a shevuah, but the word neder, sometimes it means particularly exactly a neder, to prohibit something, but sometimes it means the more general category of any promise. And now here it's talking about a shevuah. So he says this is a big vow to the God of Israel. In other words, it is effective. Now we ask the same question, or are we already commanded to study Torah? And that's from Har Sinai. We already said Na'aseh v'nishma. Nishma, we're going to study it. And you can't make another shevuah upon a shevuah. So in what sense is this a valid vow? So what are you saying? Oh, he's just coming to teach us that you can make such a statement, even though it's not a binding vow, in order to encourage, to motivate oneself, right? I know that in the morning I'm going to be lazy, I'm going to be tired, I might just end up sleeping late. So if I make this vow formula, that will encourage me to really get up and make time for my daily Tanakh study. So is it to teach us that, and it's not actually a binding vow? hold on, Hainu Rav Gidel Kamaita. That is the exact same thing as the previous statement of Rav Gidel. He already taught us that you can make a vow that I'm going to wear tefillin. It's not a binding vow, but is permitted to say such a thing for encouragement. So we already know that. Hakamash malan kevan di'iba'e patar nafsheh b'kiryat shema shacharit v'arbit mishum hachi chayel shivua aleh. Rather, he's teaching us something new here, that since if a person wanted, he can fulfill his obligation to study Torah just by reading Shema in the morning and the evening, right? Although it says v'dibarta bam, you have to speak about words of Torah every day. The bare minimum is you say Shema. So I fulfilled my biblical obligation by saying Shema. If I take a vow upon myself that I'm going to learn a perek of Mishnah, that's above and beyond the base level. So the mushba ve'omed, the swear at Har Sinai, was only that I'm going to do a minimal amount of study every morning and every evening. And so this vow does apply because it adds more to my minimal obligation. And so therefore, yes, that vow will apply, and that could be a good thing to encourage oneself to do that. Amar Rav Gidel Amar Rav, ha'omed l'chaverot nashkim v'nishne perek zeh alav nashkim. If someone tells his friend, right, let's wake up early and we're going to study this perek together. We're going to, read some Tanakh together in the morning. So that is a binding vow, as we just saw. But furthermore, since he told his friend that, the obligation is upon the person who made the vow to get there first, right? He has to rise earlier and set everything up and wait for his friend. How do you know that? Shehebar vayomer elai ben adam kum se labika v'sham edaber otach v'yetze labika v'hine sham kevod Hashem omed. Because in Yechezkel it says that Hashem told Yechezkel, wake up and go to the plain, and I'm going to speak to you there. And then, sure enough, he woke up early to that plain, and behold, the glory of Hashem was already standing there, because Hashem invited Yechezkel, hey, wake up tomorrow, let's meet. Right, we have something to tell you. So it's proper procedure, protocol that the person doing the inviting should get there first. Okay, so this is very nice. If you call a meeting or you set a lunch date, the person who's doing the inviting should make sure to get there first. That's the proper, polite thing to do. And so too with learning Torah. So that's the last statement of Rav Gidel Amar Rav. Amar Rav Yosef. Niduhu b'halom sarich asara b'nei adam latir lo. So now following up on before, if someone is excommunicated, how do you undo the excommunication? We saw a few laws about that already. But now, what if someone is excommunicated in a dream? He sees a dream in which he's excommunicated. Now, this is not going to be an official excommunication because it's only in a dream, but nevertheless, the dream may be significant, and maybe it means he actually did something wrong. So he has to worry about that, and he should go to 10 people to undo the dream. Vehu detanu hilcheta aval matnu velo tanu la. Veileka detanu hilcheta afilu matnu velo tanu. Now these 10 people shouldn't just be anybody. It should be people that study halacha. But if they matnu, then that's not good enough level. Now, matnu would mean usually to teach. So it means if they study, but not if they teach. I mean, teaching would be a higher level than studying. So one interpretation of this version of the text is that taking halakha to be a higher level than Mishnah. The word matnu would be for matnitin if they study only Mishnah, whereas halakha would be studying, well, not Gemara as we have it, but Talmud in the sense of they're studying, what is the meaning, comparing cases, figuring out what the halacha would be. So if they're on a high level of studying Talmud, halacha, then those are 10 worthy people to undo this dream ban. But if they only study basic Mishnah, then and not Tanu Hilcheta, then it's not sufficient. However, ileka de tanu hilcheta, if you don't find people that study on that high level of halacha, Talmud, then even if they just matnu, just know Mishnah, velo tanu, then that's still sufficient. to undo this dream ban, right? Again, it's not a technical halachic ban, but rather, maybe it's a message from heaven that you did something wrong, and so he should still go and undo it in front of 10. All right, that's the printed version we have here. There is another version in the Munich manuscript that perhaps is clearer. It says, "Vehu de matne hilcheta, aval lo matne hilcheta lo." That's only if they teach halacha, but if they don't teach halacha, then no. So here it's not a difference between different types of learning or teaching. It's just that they don't only know Tanakh, but they have to know halcheta. Usually just could be in Mishnah. So they have to be teaching Mishnah, but otherwise not. Ve'ileka de matnu hilcheta afilu tanu velo matnu. And if there is no one that teaches halacha, even if they only learn halacha and not teach it. So it will be a lower level. They only learn the Mishnah, but they don't know how to teach it. And if there's none of that, then that'll be the next line. Okay, so this is a different version, and there seems to be a few different versions of exactly what these levels are. Rambam has a totally different scenario. Maybe he has different manuscript, but we don't have that manuscript that he may have had. Okay, so that's so you should go to 10 people that are more learned, and if not, then you can go to 10 people that are less learned. And if you don't even have that, if you can't get a group of 10 learned people together, then sit at the crossroads where people go back and forth and say hello to everybody that passes by until you'll get in the end 10 who walk by, and you'll say hello to them, they'll say hello to you, and probably within that there'll be 10 people that do have studied halacha. So even if you can't get them together in one place, each of them saying hello to you is a way of not being excommunicated, because if someone's excommunicated, you can't speak to them. You have to stay far away from them. So these people, each by greeting, even though they're not all together in one place, but they're passing by, that is sufficient. Again, this is not a technical nidui, but it's a heavenly sign there, and therefore this would be the procedure. Let's say you know who excommunicated you in a dream, right? You had a dream, and in the dream I saw a certain person, maybe he's an authority figure or a sage or something, and he says to a person in their dream, you are excommunicated. So then, do I have to still do this 10 people procedure, or can I go directly to that person, right? They're around, they're nearby, and let me go there and undo the vow in front of the person that excommunicated in the dream. Although that was in a dream, I'm going to go to them while I'm awake and undo it. Is that okay? No, you cannot do that. To put you in excommunication, they, up in heaven, sent that guy to be a messenger in a dream, that he would be the representative of this heavenly message to say, hey, you did something wrong. But to undo it, that he is not necessarily a messenger that he can undo it for heaven. He was only being used by a person's maybe subconscious, that this is the person of authority, or that he feels guilty about what he did. So he's getting that message. So no, it's not sufficient to go to the person who's alive. You have to undo it in that heavenly way. Well, you can't. Who are you going to ask? So you get 10 people. They are representative. It's a minyan. A minyan represents the community and can be at that stand-in to undo the divine message. What if someone had a dream that he was excommunicated, and in the dream also they undid the excommunication? Right? Is that sufficient? Does he still have to go find 10 people? He says, just like you never have wheat without bran. Right? Anytime you have grain, you have to take off all the chaff, all the bran, and throw it away, and only have the kernel that's good. So too, you never have a dream without some nonsense in it. Every dream is a mixture of real messages that come from heaven, and other things that are just mixed in, just filler stuff that fill the space. So you never know which is the real and which is not. And it could be that the excommunication, that was the grain, that was a real message, and maybe the excommunication was not a real message. That was just the person's own mind filling it in, and so therefore it's not sufficient to be unexcommunicated in a dream. If you were excommunicated in a dream, you have to go to 10 people and undo that excommunication. All right. Ravina havala nidrad lidebitu atale kamet Rav Asher. So one time Ravina's wife took a vow, and although Ravina, as her husband, would have had the right to undo the vow, could be a vow that was not related to the household, and he couldn't do it, or maybe he didn't do it right away. So anyway, later on he wants to go and undo it. So he goes to Rav Asher, that's actually his teacher, and to tell him this is the situation. Can you undo the vow? Amar le Baal mahu sheyaseh shaliach lecharatat ishto. So Ravina asked Rav Asher, listen, my wife, for whatever reason, she can't come, she doesn't want to come. Can I, the husband, can I be a shaliach to undo the vow for my wife? Usually a person that makes a vow will come to a bet din. See, when it comes to Rav Asher here, it's going to be evident in a second that he doesn't come just to one person, but Rav Asher and his bet din, right? Whoever's gathered around him. So usually when someone makes a vow, he comes to a bet din and he has to get an interview. Why did you make the vow? What were the circumstances? Did you realize the consequences? If you knew that, would you still do it? Right? It has a whole process. So the question is, can a husband be a stand-in, an agent to undo the vow and explain the circumstances for his wife? So Rav Asher's answer is, if the three people are already assembled there, then yes, you can be a messenger. But if you have to go and find three people and put together the bet din, then you're not allowed to do it. All right, it's not really clear what the difference is. One explanation is that we're afraid that the husband, since he's in nogea badavar, right? He may be affected by the outcome of this. If she says, "I'm never going to, watch TV," and he likes to watch TV with her, and so he may be affected, or whatever it is. Then he may be very eager to have the vow undone, and if in his eagerness he may exaggerate, lie, and in explaining the situation, and so we're afraid of that. Now, if it's a standing bet din, it's already there, then fine, we can trust the husband. He wants to tell the truth. But if there's no bet din there, and he goes through the tremendous effort to go and find three people, put them together, that shows he's very, very eager to have it undone. If he's so eager, then we are suspicious that he may not tell the full exact truth, and so then we do not let him. We want her to come in herself, because she has direct access, and she'll be more reliable to speak about herself than her husband speaking about her. All right. So from that story, Shema Mina Telat, we can learn three lessons. Shema Mina Baal Naaseh Shalech Lecharatat Ishto. That yes, generally a husband can be a messenger to annul his wife's vows in front of the bet din. And furthermore, that you cannot undo a vow in the place where one's teacher is. You see, Ravina did not go and just undo the vow himself with his own bet din, but rather, because his teacher was nearby, that Rav Asher, he says, no, I have to go to my teacher. It's a sign of respect. So even if someone else came to Ravina, he would say, oh, let's go to Rav Asher. And the third is that we only do it if there's already a bet din assembled, right? Because that was Rav Asher's answer. They have to already be there. Only then can the husband be a messenger. And now one more law that's incidentally regarding an excommunication. What we just said was regarding a vow, to undo a vow. But if someone was excommunicated and now they made teshuvah, they don't deserve to be excommunicated anymore, then a person, the sage, should undo it immediately by himself. Even in the place where his rabbi lives, he shouldn't wait to have to go and travel to the rabbi's house. but he should do it immediately. And furthermore, even if it's a single person, but he's an expert judge, he's a certification as a judge, he can undo the excommunication. The reason is because someone's excommunicated, that's a really bad situation for him. It's very difficult, really suffering. And so we don't want to delay at all until he finds 3 people or until he goes to his teacher's house. Rather, you let him you let one person do it immediately, and don't have to bother going to the rabbi. Whereas a vow, someone made a vow, I'm not going to eat chocolate. Okay, so if they have to wait a few extra minutes and still not eat chocolate before they undo it, it's not the end of the world. Amar Rabbi Shimon ben Zevid, bar Zevid. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak bar Tabla. Amar Rabbi Chaya Aricha. Deber Rabbi Acha. Amar Rabbi Zera. Amar Rabbi Elazar. Amar Rabbi Chanina. Amar Rabbi Meyasha. Mishemed Rabbi Yehuda bar Eli. That was a long list of rabbis. You find this every once in a while. I think it usually means the following statement is going to be something very significant that we have this whole long chain of tradition. Mai dichti v'zaracha lachem yireh shemi shemesh shedaka v'gomer elu b'nei adam shehen yirein lehosi shem shamayim lebatala. Okay, shemesh sedaka umarpeh amar Abaye shemamina chirga deyoma maseh. Okay, this is an exposition on a pasuk in Malachi. Let's look at that pasuk ourselves for a minute. Here we go. Yeah, so we're actually gonna see pasuk 19 in a few minutes, but right now it's pasuk 20. That the Yom Ba is going to be in some future time. The sun is going to rise upon those who fear my name. It's going to be a sun of righteousness, and it's going to be healing in its wings. And you will go forth, and you will stamp like fat calves. All right, so it's depicting some great reward in the future for those who fear God. So here's how we expound upon it. So this is referring to people who are afraid to say Hashem's name for naught. So we're learning it from Yireh Shemi. Now in Peshat, when we say Shem, the man Shema is just a stand-in for Hashem himself, right? Hashem's name is his essence. But here they're taking it ultra literally, that those who fear Hashem's name and do not want to take his name in vain. So those people who do that, they will have a great reward, that they'll have sun of righteousness and of healing, right? Lots of good things. Abaye teaches, Abaye learned something else from this pasuk, that chigra, the dust of the sun heals. What's the dust of the sun? It could be like in this picture, when you have sunlight coming in through the window, a lot of times you see the dust particles there, and the idea is like, there's something there. The sun is not just giving light, but it actually is healing. Maybe it's talking about photons, because actually now we know light is bits of dust, little tiny particles. But it is in fact true that sun has a lot of healing powers, and gives someone vitamin D and lots of benefits in proper doses and with proper sunscreen, of course. Okay. Peliga de Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish. Now, Bayer was saying that the sun is good for people, regular people alive here in this world. It's good to go out and get some sun. But this is in disagreement with what Resh Lakish said. Tamar en gehinam laolam haba ela kadosh baruch hu mosi hama minartika sadikim mitrapein ba urshaim nidonin ba shenemar vezaracha lachem yireh Shemi v'zaracha lachem yireh shemi shemesh v'gomer. So Resh Lakish is applying the very same pasuk not to live people in this world that benefit from the sun, but rather to a future world. And so he says there is no Gehinam in the future world. Here, Olam Haba can mean a number of things. It seems not to mean after a single individual dies. There, he would probably agree that there is Gehinam, there is some suffering to atone for that person's sin. But L'olam haba means in the far future, at the end of days, as Malachi is in fact talking about, there won't be a separate punishment of whatever it is called Gehinam, but rather Hashem will simply bring out the sun from its sheath. the sun is now protected. At night, it goes wherever it goes. They believed it went behind the earth into, like behind the curtain. Or maybe it means that the different layers of the atmosphere protect ozone, right, protect us from the sun. But in the future, Hashem will bring the sun in its full force, and because of that, the righteous people will be healed by it. It will actually be good. The righteous people will be able to soak up that sun and enjoy it and have healing, whereas the evil people will be judged by it. It will be burnt, will suffer because of it. In other words, it's not as going to be a separate Gehinam and a good place and a bad place, but rather it'll be the very same thing, but the very same thing will be good for the good and bad for the bad. Maybe you could understand it in the way of sun illuminating everything, and once everybody's books are opened, they're public and private matters, so those who are righteous, you'll see all the wonderful things they did in public and private, and their humility, and evil people, you'll see all the terrible things they did. And so it'll be a day of judgment, of reckoning, of unveiling all that which is hidden, and you'll know the truth, who's really good and who is not. Okay, so and he quotes the same pasuk. So you see that Shakish says it's not only healing in this world, but talking about the future world. And not only will the righteous be healed by the sun, if they had some problem, some sickness, they'll be healed, but actually they'll even enjoy it like. This is the same language as Gan Eden, and they'll flourish from it, and that's the rest of the pasuk that says they're going to jump up like calves of the stall, fattened calves, healthy calves that have a lot of energy. And the last line, V'harshaim nidonin ba shneimad. How do you know that evil people will suffer in it? We didn't see a pasuk for that yet, but this is the previous pasuk in Malachi shneimad. Hine hayom ba bo'er ketanur. We can look back at that pasuk. Bo'er ketanur, right? Something is coming, it's going to be burning like an oven. The evil people will be like straw, and they will be consumed. They're going to be so burnt until there's nothing left of them, not stock, not boughs, just ashes. You see, it's quite nice how this midrash connects the two pesukim. Although pasuk 19 doesn't talk about the sun, but pasuk 20 does. 19 does talk about something burning something up. So it's makes sense to connect it with the next pasuk. And just like the sun sheds light and healing and good things, so too that very force is very powerful and can also burn those who are wicked. And so that's the essence of this midrash. It's the very same force that will be for good and for bad. And so this we go to the next Mishnah and the next daf, but it's really nice how this whole from daf bet until now follows through with this theme. And this is relevant to vows, because a vow that's taken in vain is saying Hashem's name in vain, and therefore this is emphasizing the stringency of how careful one has to be with saying Hashem's name, and for that reason, probably better not to take vows at all. That will be discussed even further in the future dapim. Baruch Adonai Leolam, Amen ve'Amen.